we're attempting to upgrade our single pendant light to 3 new downlights. So this room is our hallway. It's never really been that light. With this single pendant, it didn't really light up the room. It was pretty rubbish and it looked ugly. That's why we're choosing to upgrade to the downlights. So these are LED downlights or spotlights, whatever you call them. This is the downlight that I'm using. I've got 3 of these. I'll just show you what's inside the box. So you get the downlight unit itself, like this. And then you also get the driver where you make the connections, the loop in and out if you need. And then this connects as a plug into the actual light itself. So as you can probably tell, this is where the original pendant light was. The original wiring has been put into a junction box, which I can show you in a minute. And then this is the feed off of that, which I need to basically run to each one of the spotlights. And you can see that I've already made some holes, which will have to be made much bigger soon, and you'll see why. But first, let's start with dust proofing this room. Right, so we will be overboarding this ceiling afterwards, so we can essentially make as much mess as we want. But what I need to do is to find the joists along the ceiling to be able to drill through to feed the cable to each one of the downlights. And also, when I'm plasterboarding the ceiling, I'll have to know where the joists are anyway to screw them in. So doing this now isn't actually a big deal. This joist is here. I can make a measurement roughly where I think the next one will be, make a little hole, and then make the hole big enough to get my drill in to create the hole on each one of the joists. 1mm twin and earth cable. That's what I'm using to wire these in. This is 1mm as well. What my plan was to do, because this is in the center, I was going to feed this original cable to the first downlight and then loop that out to the center and then loop it out again to the third one. So that's the plan. I've turned the downside lights off and also the upstairs lights off, and then that should cover me to touch the cables. I found the first joint easily enough. What I basically did was, from this joist here, I measured roughly 50 centimeters, and it's actually about 48 centimeters distance from each other. So I can carry on that theory across all of the ceiling to hopefully find all of the joists pretty easily. Okay, so all the joists have been found. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 joists to drill through. And I'm using a 16mm wood drill bit to do this. And that should be enough to fit 2 cables through each of the holes. This is the size I need to get in, basically. I want to be able to drill in the middle of the joist. So you can see the amount I've got to cut out of the ceiling to actually get in there. So I resorted to just pulling it out with some pliers and then tapping it up. I'm glad I did that because you can see here there's a cable running right across. So if I had gone in with my cutting tool, then I could have potentially damaged that. So I'm glad I've done that now. So I've got enough in there to get the drill in. And yeah, we'll see how this first one goes. So there's the first hole, and then I've also done that side as well. So that's 2 out of 5 done. So I'm just going to keep going and then I'll be back once I've done. Four of the holes are drilled, and as always, I've run into a slight problem. It's always on the last one as well, obviously. I've ended up finding like the holy grail of electrical cables up here, so I can't really get my drill in. But what I can do is just test if the original holes that loads of these cables are going through will actually fit. Oh. Okay. Yeah, okay, so that actually fits through. At this stage, I'm pretty much ready to feed this cable to the first spotlight. Yeah, as I said, it's a very messy job. That's why I put all the dust sheets up. Don't stand directly underneath like me, otherwise it will go all down your back. So yeah, this cable can now be fed through these joists to this first one. And I'm going to make the connection and put the actual downlight in, loop it out to all the others, and then we're going to test it before I overboard the ceiling. Also, what I mentioned at the start, this is the junction box. Yeah, this is all the connections made up in this junction box, and then this is just the feed out for the actual lights. And all I need to do now is feed this cable through here, that's through there. There we go. Then I need to get the new cable, feed that to the centre light, cut it or loop it, and then feed that one to the end one. This joist is here and I can't get my hand through this hole. So what I'm going to do, instead of creating another hole to feed it through the joist, I'm just going to tie this up here because it's long enough, put a little bit of tape around it. And then I can pull it back through the hole. There we go. And then just take the tape back off and then pull the slack back off that one. I'm at my middle one now and I've got two options really. I can either pull all the cable through, loop it round and then go back down to the end one, or I can just chop the cable here at the first downlight and then put in my next cable from here to the end. So I think I'm going to do the second option just because I don't want to have to pull all this through and loop it round and then cut it at the end anyway. I'm just going to cut it here, give myself loads of slack, way more than I need, and then just thread the next one through. So hopefully that makes sense what I mean. So I've got the original first feed here, and then this is basically, this cable will be looped out of the driver to the centre, and then that will be looped out of the centre to the end one. So this is basically the loop wire. Leave myself loads of slack. A bit more down there actually. It's also a good idea to do that just in case in future, if you want to move them around, you've got at least a bit of slack to do that. So yeah, I haven't got my cutters on me at the minute, so I'm just using these. Getting somewhere now. This is essentially the last cut I'll have to make. And there we go. Cables are in. I've stripped this cable down slightly. I've done it at this length because obviously I want this cable clamped in when it's closed. So I've made it about this length, and it also states in the instructions that you need roughly 16mm ends. So I've done another one here. I can show you. They essentially go right into the bottom. So there will be no exposed wires, and as I said at the start, there's one loop in and one loop out, and that's why there's two cables. This one is essentially what I need to get them all at, and then I can wire them into the little junction box. And the way these work are, you've got obviously the tabs here, so you lift them up and they sort of click into place, and that's open. Once the cables are in, you close these tabs down and then that will lock them in place. It says on there, live, earth and neutral. Obviously the brown wire is live, blue wire is neutral. Ugh. And then that center one is earth. I haven't got any wire strippers on me, so I'm just using these side cutters. And I've done this loads of times before. You just make a little cut around the sides and then it should pull off like that. And then I'm also using the sleeving, cutting that to size and putting that on the earth wire. So to strip the original cable down, I roughly have about that much, which is about half a fist. Just a little mark there. And then I take the cutters and make a cut up the center, just like that. Then reveal the wires like that. Grab this earth wire, it's a bit awkward to do trying to film, and then you basically just pull that up to the mark that I made, pull the sleeving back off, and then just snip it off there. So I mentioned where I wanted this to sit in the clamp, so that's how I got that distance, and then basically, because I've already cut one, I can just reference that. Cut these all similar size, and then I can strip the cable back to that 16mm measurement. They're all marked out, so you can't really go wrong. Put this sleeving on. Try not to let it fall off again. Put these in. So, like that. And then that's the first one in. Obviously make sure that they're all in there properly, give it a tug, or use some small pliers just to give it a little tug, or even if you need to push it down a little bit more. And then close the tabs, and that should be solid for the first connection. So same for the other side, and then the same for the next two. So as you can see, they're all wired in now. So the first one the centre both have an in and an out, and then the end one has just has the feed cable coming through. The next thing to do would be to close all these up. The cable's nice and tight. Do that on all of them, plug them into the lights, turn the fuse wheel back on, and then see if they actually work. Pretty self-explanatory how to plug in, I would hope. So they'll only go in one way. Clip in like that. And then this is the moment, will they actually work? Take this off. So yeah, they all work. Obviously they're not in properly yet. Tomorrow I'm gonna be, or today, I'm gonna be overboarding the ceiling. So all of this crap will be hidden. And I'm also, when I do overboard it, I'm gonna unplug these lights and then just board straight over the holes. So when I come to plastering, I haven't got to plaster around anything. I can just plaster straight over it and then re-drill the holes afterwards. Alright, so ignore the mess, but you can actually see it brightens up the room a lot more than the original pendant did. It's always felt really dark and gloomy in this room. So now with these, it just brings the light back in. So yeah, I'm really happy with them. Obviously when they're in properly it'll be even better, and when everything's plastered and painted. That was how to replace a single pendant light with 3 downlights. Hopefully that helped in some way if you're looking to do something similar yourself. Obviously if you've got any questions, put them down in the comments and I'll try and help as much as possible. I'm going to be overboarding and plastering next, so yeah, make sure you subscribe and follow along for the rest.